Okay, today we're going to start talking about polynomials and the way to classify them. But first things first, we do need to go over some exponential rules or exponent rules. So, first things first, a monomial is a number, variable, or a product of numbers and variables. So it's only one term. So for example, 4 is a monomial. 7x is a monomial. X squared is a monomial. Negative x cubed is a monomial. It's one term, okay? Now, with the exponent rules, there's a product rule, power rule, quotient, negative exponent, and then the zero exponent rule, okay? So a product rule says that if you have two numbers with the same base, so the a is the base, but to different exponents, then you add your exponents, okay? So for example, if I had x squared times x to the 7th, then I would have x to the 9th. I add my exponents. The power rule says that if you have a number raised to a power and all of that is raised to a power, then you multiply your exponents, okay? So if I had x squared to the 7th power, then I would have x to the 14th. The quotient rule, this one is very visual, so I'm going to show you kind of how it works visually. If you have two numbers that you are dividing, okay, then you subtract the exponents, and it's always top minus bottom, okay? Now here's the visual part. So for example, if I had x to the 7th over x squared, well, x to the 7th means that there's 7 x's multiplied by each other. And then on the bottom, you have 2 x's multiplied. Now, since it's multiplication, you can actually cancel. So I can cancel 2 from the top and bottom, and I am left with 5 x's, which is the same as x to the 7 minus 2. So you get x to the 5th. There is this negative exponent rule. So if you have a number raised to a negative exponent, that turns into a fraction. So it's 1 over a to the m. Now it's positive. In the same way, if you have, let's say, 1 over a to the negative m, then it just brings it up top. Okay? So an example would be like if I had x to the negative 2nd. That would be 1 over x squared. Now we have the zero exponent rule. So any number to the 0 power is always 1. So if you had like 1,000,000 to the 0 power, it would be 1. So in this case, 7x squared to the 0 power is 1. So let's look at some examples. So number 1 here, when you're adding or subtracting monomials, you combine like terms. So if you are adding and subtracting, look at the exponents and see which ones you can combine. Now if you're multiplying, if you have coefficients, for example, we have a 5 and a negative 7 here, and you're multiplying. So I'm going to multiply those. So 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. Now I have x squared times x to the 6th. If you remember your product rule, you will add those exponents. So it'll be x to the 2 plus 6. So you get negative 35 x to the 8th. Okay, let's look at number 2. So I have multiplication here, but I also have a power to a power, okay, with this 2 here. So what's going to happen is everything inside those parentheses is going to get raised to the 2nd power. Okay, so I'm going to have negative 2 squared, and then I'm going to have a cubed squared, and then b squared. Okay, so negative 2 squared is a positive 4. a cubed squared, you multiply those exponents, so it's going to be a to the 6th, and then b squared, okay, times 8ab to the 9th. So now we multiply, so 4 times 8 multiplied is 32. A to the 6th times a is a to the 7th. B squared times b to the 9th is b to the 11th. And that's your final answer. Okay, let's look at a division one here. So 54m to the 6th n to the 4th divided by 3m squared n minus 10m to the 4th n cubed. So let's take care of this division first. So what we're going to do is we're just going to divide our like terms. So I'm going to divide 54 and 3, divide the m's, and then divide the n's. So 54 divided by 3 is 18. M to the 6th divided by m squared. So there's 6 on top and 2 on the bottom. I can cancel 2 of them. And so I have m to the 4th. N to the 4th divided by n gives me n cubed. Minus 10m to the 4th n cubed. Now if you look, our variables here are the same, so we can combine like terms. Okay, I'm not going to do anything with those variables. It's just like subtracting 2x minus 3x. Okay, I have the same variables here, so I just subtract the numbers. So 18 minus 10 is going to be 8 m to the 4th n cubed. Okay. Now let's look at number 6. So this one is kind of an interesting one. I have this division, and it's raised to the negative first power. Now I do want to show you something. Again, if you have something raised to the negative power, it goes in the denominator. So this whole thing is being raised to the negative first, so all of it drops to the bottom, and it's raised to the positive. Okay? But in this case, I'm dividing by a fraction, and you do that by keep, flip, change, okay, or multiply by the reciprocal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fraction, and I'm just going to flip it over, okay, and so I'm going to have 1 times, and then my fraction flips, so 7w cubed over 14w to the 12th. Well, 1 times that is just this. Okay, so I'm going to leave it the same. So now let's do the division. Well, 7 divided by 14, that's 1/2. So I'm going to have 1 over 2. And then w to the 3rd divided by w to the 12th. So I have 3 on top and 12 on the bottom. So I can cancel 3 of them, but I'm going to have 9 left in the denominator. So w to the 9th. Okay, and so that's how you would deal with a negative fraction. Okay, let's do number 8. So I have c over c squared all to the 4th times negative 3c to the 4th. Okay, so what we can do, whenever you have something to the 4th, everything in there gets raised to the 4th power. So you're going to have c to the 4th over, and then c squared to the 4th, you multiply those exponents, so you get c to the 8th. Times negative 3 to the 4th, and then c to the 4th. So negative 3 to the 4th is 81. So you're going to get c to the 4th over c to the 8th. Well, let's just reduce that really quick. C to the 4th over c to the 8th gives me 1 over c to the 4th times 81 c to the 4th. If you notice, you have a c to the 4th in the numerator and in the denominator, so they just cancel each other out, and all you're left with is 81.